In the Iba, an individual has everything it takes to do what their chi brought them into the world to do. This is the space of your spirit that your Ikenga sits. Your Ikenga is your physical and spiritual will, your ability to actualize what you desire through your own efforts, or the kinetic force of your chi moving through time and space. This is also the space where your Omumu sits, or your manifesting ability, your ability to make your desires an actuality without force or motion, but through the sheer force of manifestation. Both the Ikenga is the masculine force an individual has in the world, while the Omumu is the feminine.
Welcome to Understanding the Igbo Cosmos series, Lecture 6. In the last lecture, the power of the deity Allah in the Igbo cosmology, we made people to understand that Allah is the deity of stability and prosperity, and that Allah must be pacified anytime is desecrated, and that the reason Ndi Igbo prosper very well is because we have a culture of avoiding desecrating the deity Allah. In today's lecture, we are delving into one of the most controversial issues in the spirituality of Ndi Igbo. That is why we have this topic, idolatry and the spirituality of Ndi Igbo. Let me start by authoritatively stating that the spirituality of Ndi Igbo has no connections whatsoever to idolatry. Ndi Igbo does not and will never worship idols. Idolatry is the worship of carved or graven images. Ndi Igbo does not worship images, arusi, apiriapi, akpuru. That is why an Igbo man can convert the rubbish into firewood whenever or anytime he gets angry. Idols does not dictate the life or the pace of the Igbo man in destiny. Idolatry has never been a force in the life of the Igbo man. Rather, his ancestors and other invisible beings are his force. The spiritual worship of Ndi Igbo is carried out at an altar situated at certain spiritually identified points, many of which turn out later to be groves as time goes on. That is where he communicates and converses with his higher beings. This is so because the beings have no specific places of abode, but can anchor their presence at places they deem fit. That place or point becomes a place of communication between Ndi Igbo and the spirit beings. A grove in Igbo cosmos can be regarded as a plantation of certain trees planted at the time of erecting an altar for a spirit messenger. This appropriately becomes a point of communication with that spirit being, or in extended cases, the beings who connect us to the Most High Chukwu Okike Abiama. Mind you, The Most High, to whom we are all subject, dwells above and have anchored his laws here in this creation. And these spirit beings, messengers, helps to watch over these laws. That is to ensure that these laws are fulfilled by man. And when man fails to fulfill or work in accordance with these laws of the Most High, retribution follows immediately, and the spirit beings make sure of this retribution. Carved and graven images, idolatry, that is what it is, are a total debasement to the highly elevated spirituality of the Igbo man. It is alien to the Igbo cosmology. It is completely foreign. You can go and make your researches. My grandfather was a great dibia. I mean dibia loro biebuli. He had altars such as Ihu Anyanwu or Iru Anyanwu, depends on what part of Igbo you come from. He had Ihochukwu, he had Metranunje, etc. All these were small groups with no single images whatsoever carved attached to them. In fact, Metranunje was just one mighty tree, and evil people used to avoid it and its environment like a plague. They don't near it. Even many years after the Metranunje tree has gone down, evil people still do not near the empty space till this day. They dare not. The reason is simple. If your hands are not clean and you go near the point of Metranunje, Allah will hold you down there, because the deity there, Metranunje, is still very active. And until you pacify Allah, you are going nowhere. You will not even be able to stand on your feet. These things are real. They are not magic. We used to watch my grandfather those days daily pour libations at those altars. He will lift up his eyes and his hands towards the heavens, send his prayers, and then finally he applies the force of the offer upon the earth to seal his prayers. Such is the spirituality of the Igbo man. Again, offer is not osisi apiriapi as many people believe, but offer is the official spiritual staff of Ndi Igbo. Remember, every Igbo man is born a priest and is groomed accordingly. Yes, that is why we have the office of Diokpa and Omuada. Every Igbo son is a potential Diokpa. Every Igbo daughter is a potential Wada. So they are priests and they are groomed accordingly. So Igbo is a kingdom of priests. Hence, Ofo is a staff of Levitical priesthood. It is equivalent to the staff of Aaron. It is an assemblage of the forces of justice, fairness, and mercy, the tenets upon which the Igbo society is founded upon, so that you don't let anyone confuse you with nonsensical misconception concerning our great Ikenga. The Igbo cosmology does not entertain arusi, apiriapi, or akpuru, graven images. No. The Igbo spirituality is practiced using altars and not carved or molded images. Carved or molded images are foreign to the Igbo cosmology. For instance, when you go to many places in Igbo, the indigenous people from that community can comfortably and reliably tell you about some of those carved images and where they were brought from to their community. They either come from distant lands or neighboring tribes. They don't ever come from neighboring Igbo communities. Never. It is not in the Igbo cosmology. Spirits like Agwu and Abara are not tied to any carved or molded images in their operations within the Igbo cosmos. No. Same also with the spirit messengers or the deities such as Amadioha, Baranze, Allah, etc. Till tomorrow, the Amadioha altar in my community is a grove with no graven images. The deities are not tied to any carved images in anything called shrine or shrines. Shrine is foreign. It came with the graven images. So shrine goes with graven images. But for us, altars go with groves. There were only altars in Igbo, and on those altars inhabited these beings or spirits and the spirit messengers or deities. Libations were poured out to their invisible but visibly and powerfully felt presence at their points of operation and anchorage. So also were the offered sacrifices. Yes, these elements, these beings are invisible, but when you get to the point of their anchorage, you will feel their presence and you will know that a being is here. Now, concerning groves. The groves were not originally there, but came about in the process, as I said earlier. Please listen carefully. Usually, at the point of establishment of an altar, a symbolic perennial tree that will neither fall nor be eaten into by moths or other pests is planted symbolically there. This is to help identify the specific point where the altar is erected. It is just similar to the way that Jacob and others erected altars where they had contact with beings. Of course, it's a known practice that wherever one encounters a higher being or a spiritual guardian, he must place an altar there as a covenant. Now, those places where the altars are anchored becomes hallowed ground because there will be no human activities around it, no farming, nothing, as such places must dwell in tranquility. Therefore, with time, those perennial trees grow and become mighty over the years, thereby forming grooves. These grooves now become points of eternal communication between that community and the Most High, thereby forming the ladder of Jacob. I mean, the ladder of prayers for that community. You can also call it the ladder of Jacob, yes. And so long as there were no graven images there, the Most High never complained. The introduction of carved and graven images into the Igbo society happened along the line as interaction with foreigners and their neighbors increased. It was not so from the beginning. These carved images are what has led to Oke Moba Jogo in Igbo. This is why in the last lecture, The Power of Allah in the Igbo Cosmology, I listed Okogo as idolatry. Graven images or idolatry are the reasons for evil and wickedness in every society. They breed evil spirits, ajomo, through their evil invocations and enchantments that are involved in the practices of their worship. It is those idolatry that gave birth to magic money, money rituals, and all the nonsense that is going on. Idolatry breeds a demon and evil infested society. It is not our Igbo thing. Igbo is a clean society, free from idolatry. Another way idols came into the Igbo society was by importation of such idols, either by community priests when they have issues that they feel are beyond them and they need external help, or men who in their unnecessary quest for power has brought in such into their homes. By law, such idols are supposed to be sent back after use, but many people failed to send them back as at when due, maybe due to certain circumstances. And now, those forces remains with the people. And over time, as record is lost as to where they were brought from, the subsequent generations will begin to consider the strange force and its strange attributes as part of their society. This is also one of the major reasons why Ala Igbo is in chaos today. Many of us grew up not seeing or citing graven images in our communities. But now, many traditional worshippers in Ala Igbo in recent times have lost track of the original spirituality and the real Igbo traditional worship, and have imbibed strange forms of worship from their neighbors using carved images, assuming it to be what our forefathers worshipped. This is one of the reasons they have monetized many of the altars in Ala Igbo today. And in this very act, they err arumere. For this reason, this broadcast and lectures on understanding the Igbo Cosmos series has become very important, so that we can discard this chaff and deceptions so as to reintroduce the way and true mode of worship of our ancestors. The first phase of this cleansing is in returning those idols to wherever they were brought from. Therefore, those idols will definitely go back to where they came from someday in the whole of Ala Igbo. The Igbo man only had his Ikenga that moved mountains for him. It protected him, guided him, and led him aright in all his dealings, because he must keep his hands clean. When you hear Ojiofo Gala, it means the man with clean hands is the one that will be freed. He is free to move. The Igbo man na kuwa kayoto. He keeps his hands clean. It is also worthy to note here that Ndi Igbo does not worship the spirit messengers or deities. Ndi Igbo worship only the Most High Chukwu Okike Abiama. We do not ascribe worship to these spirit messengers. We simply communicate with them and send them on errands because we recognize them as the messengers of the Maker of the universe, Chukwu Okike Abiama. As nature beings, the duty of these messengers is to help us to attend to those errands that the density of our physical body cannot allow us to achieve. Them, by their bodiless nature, are able to permeate and to penetrate certain regions of this creation and existence that we humans cannot. They are and remain loyal messengers between the Igbo man and his maker. Let me reiterate here again and again that Ndi Igbo only worship the Most High Chukwu Okike Abiama. It is also important to note that the carving of images to represent the deities or spirit messengers in Igbo cosmos originated as foreign images got into our space. The carving of images to begin to represent Amadioha, this one and that one, is entirely an imitation as our cosmology, as our environment became infested with graven images. So our people began to imitate those things. That was also how shrine came. We never had shrines in Ala Igbo. We had no carved images of the deities of spirit messengers anywhere. What we had was altars which the trees used in planting those altars later became grooves, and with the beings attached to such altars and grooves actively and effectively doing their works of spiritual guidance and protection for the people of the community. Chukwu Okike Abiama had no issues with grooves, as the people's sacrifice through the grooves were acceptable to him. Find out in the days the Israelites had grooves. Chukwu Okike Abiama abhors carved or graven images. Now, let me ask a simple question. Between your churches that uses those graven images and Ndi Igbo, who have no business with those images, tell me who stands aright in the presence of the Most High Okike. If you do not know anything about the real spirituality of your people before now, please do yourself a favor, go home and begin to ask questions before all the elders in your place depart this earth life, thereby leaving you in perpetual ignorance. You will only end up destroying yourself, because Ala Igbo will definitely be restored to its originality. I am not doing a guesswork. This is a fact. Get it straight. Let me delve further to say, as your church bringers have manifested their idolatry with impunity in their churches, in Europe, in America, everywhere, with their carved images here and there, immortalizing evil people in the name of saints, and also displaying their lawlessness through their LGBTI in the same churches where they now wed same-sex, and even use some churches as hotels and clubs in Europe and still use there to worship on Sundays. They claim there is no more male and female, no more masculine and feminine gender. And they have even taken their madness to the extent of addressing the maker of the universe as an article, it, in order to avoid attaching masculinity to him. Is it not time you found your way back to the original spirituality of Umu Chukwu Okike Abiama, which is embedded within the Igbo spirituality and cosmology? Hear me very well. I am still waiting for the person, the pastor, the reverend, who will make the idolatry connection to the spirituality of Ndi Igbo. Igbo Ndi Nwem, Ala Igbo will be great again. I remain Nwada Nkem Derem. Please follow me on Facebook. My Facebook page is Nkem Derem. Thank you for listening. Ala Igbo ga-adị mma ọzọ, ya gazienụ ise. Please, for our listeners on YouTube, do not forget to click like so that this message will get to as many people as possible. Thank you.
Igbo amaka.